And I don't like to always use this euphemism, but kind of came out of the closet a little bit as it relates to my cannabis usage.
Right.
Moved down to Chicago. Got a job with GTI, worked throughout that business before it was the big MSO it is today. I've got to watch a lot of what are now today the biggest multi-state operators grow from a single state operator in Illinois to what they are today. And so just my appreciation for being able to participate in this industry grows every day. When I can find people that don't just talk the talk on the conference floor, but then are outside and we can be, smoking down joints, ripping some dabs, doing that type of stuff, that's what really gets me excited to continue to engage the market.
Oh, I love it. I love it. You're here, MJ and Pat, catching up with old friends and meeting new ones, sharing with you some of the things that are hot in the cannabis space, talking to people, interviewing them, et cetera, et cetera. Dimitri Downing here, always introducing. I probably shouldn't introduce myself. Everybody knows who I am. But I'm here to be pleased. I am pleased to be joined by Kurt from Seed Talent.
Yeah.
How you doing?
I am doing great.
When was the last time we saw each other?
I was at Meta about 4 or 5 months ago, and then we had a little podcast a handful of months back as well.
Remind us about your company.
Yeah, so Seed Talent is the largest employee enablement brand training platform in cannabis. So we work with over 1,500 dispensaries and over 400 of the top brands. Really, our focus is how do we create better educated retail experiences. We want to really get folks selling on the value of cannabis products. Value is utility divided by price. And to be able to really articulate that utility, you've got to be empowered with the information, not just on cannabinoids, terpenes, best-selling practices, but the features and benefits of the different products that are in the stores as well.
So you train budtenders?
Yeah, about 80% of our user base is going to be budtenders. We go with certain groups that are vertically integrated all the way back to the cultivation, accounting, finance. But I'd say, about 80% of our users are on the retail side, and that's really our sweet spot.
I guess brand ambassadors too, right?
Yeah, brand ambassadors, new wholesale, sales account managers, those types of things. But I'm a big believer that the tip of the spear for our industry is at retail, and so those are the folks that the primary amount of content is created for.
I think your thing's making a weird noise.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all good. So how did you guys get started in this?
So I started on the plant touching side, and let me know if I got to move this around anymore. Yeah. Is that better? Okay. So I started on the plant touching side. At some point, I'm like a technical, anything that's like computers or whatnot, even though I work on the software side, if I touch it, it kind of breaks.
Yeah,
so I
weird.
apologize. I'll try to avoid
This is the first time we've had a problem all day.
Sorry about that.
You're cursed, bro.
Yeah, hey, it's the aura. It's a lot of strong energy coming out of this body. But yeah, so we got started. I started on the plant touching side with Green Thumb Industries about 8 years ago, and was really seeing that the challenges that the industry was facing, whether that be price compression, high turnover, those types of things, are all rooted back in our experience to education. And if we can really kind of turn that around and empower our employees to feel confident in their roles, ideally compensate them accordingly, and also as brand partners really supply our retail teams with the information they need, that's going to stave off price compression, it's going to do those different things. And so that started on the plant touching side for me. I started with GTI's cannabis onboarding program, trained about 700 salaried folks for that business. And then when I met my what would be eventually co-founder, we said, hey, there's a bigger opportunity here, and that's when we launched the business now about 4 years ago.
So GTI has a training program that they put through everyone?
Yeah, so and GTI's training program has continued to evolve far after I left, and they've got a great team over there led by Deanne Wellworts and Kim. And their team, so when they onboard new folks, they go through a pretty robust training process. A portion of that lives on Seed Talent, and that's where a lot of the stuff on the brands and the products, kind of get passed over to their team.
I've never been onboarded by a major cannabis company. I go back to 2012, it was all a startup, but it would seem, and that's just like an aha moment for me. I didn't know this, but so True Leaf has an onboarding process for all of its new employees, and they go through cannabis training.
Yeah, and so True Leaf is not a customer of ours, so I can't necessarily speak directly on.
But
True
they should be.
I don't.
Seems
disagree.
like everybody should have that, because they shouldn't do it internally. It should be.
So it's a combination, right? Like there's certain things
Or
where
they could.
Yeah, there's certain things that can be done internally. They're going to be the subject matter expert for onboarding, training, compliance. How does XYZ dispensary want to interact with customers and patients when they walk in? Where Seed Talent really comes in is a lot of that industry best practices knowledge, the brand trainings, and then our biggest solution that I think is probably the coolest thing we do is we have a data integration into the point of sale where we actually leverage operational data to identify underperforming employees in kind of key categories like basket size, units per transaction, percentage of basket of goods that goes to house or focus brands. And we use that. I think one of the things that makes training in cannabis a bit of a challenge is the people who work behind our counters are very diverse and very unique. And so when you try to do like a one-size-fits-all training, it doesn't work because you could have somebody behind the counter who is coming from Walgreens, coming from restaurant, coming from selling weed on their couch or the legacy markets. Those folks all need a different training experience. And so what we're trying to develop, which is innovative not just for cannabis, but really innovative in the learning space overall, is how do we leverage operational data that's already being collected by these businesses to better deliver that content to the right people? And then ultimately when they engage with that content, can we measure whether or not it's actually effective from sales lift, revenue lift, those types of things with the business?
That is incredible stuff. It never even crossed my mind that there needs to be a cannabis training program. I'm sorry, going back to that.
No.
Just still.
Candidly, I don't think a lot of people have gotten into this space really center education because a lot of people are like, I've been smoking weed for 20 years. Like I kind of know how to roll a joint. Things will be, work themselves out. I think what we have to, as an industry, start to appreciate is our own individual knowledge only goes so far. And if we're going to be great stewards for our space, we ultimately have to continue to educate, continue to push. Because the other thing, one of the things I'm really excited about is if you're familiar with Abstracts, TAC or Abstracts Labs, they're one of the largest terpene suppliers in the world. They also have one of the largest terpene labs in the world. This is an example where we've worked with a subject matter expert who's leading innovation across the globe to now build an entire terpene university that's going to be available for free for any cannabis professional who says, hey, I want to go beyond, I just am trying to get high, which I love weed and I'm down to just get high. But if you really understand terpene science and cannabinoid science and actually solution sell with your customers, you create way better outcomes for patients and customers walking through the door. And it ultimately, again, it just exposes more people to this plant and this industry, which creates a longer runway for us all to play in.
Yeah, so help me understand this a little bit better, because I think I do. Obviously, you help, you provide the education for the budtenders, for the brand ambassador, for everyone, so they understand the plant. But if I have like a company with like 10, 20, 30, 40 people, and I don't want to spend time, 8, 16, 32 hours of any of my supervisors or my time to educate these people about the dynamics, how the cannabis industry works, different aspects of market structure, regulations, other challenges. Can they subcontract through you to do that? Is that...
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a free version of the platform that if retailers are like, hey, we know education's important, we don't really have the bandwidth.
Well, ancillary, auxiliary, retailers, delivery.
Yeah. So if anybody who's listening is like, hey, I could do better on my education, you can actually sign up for Seed Talent for free, regardless of your role within the space. You get access to over 10 hours of cannabis foundations training, the terpene knowledge, all those types of things. There is way more than just the baseline level of curriculum if people don't have the bandwidth to build out their content.
Right.
Our goal, and what I often say on training, is perfect can come later. Something is better than nothing, assuming it's fact-based and is actually usable for your teams. But yeah, I mean, this is like my main passion in life is getting folks to understand, while we all love cannabis, for a lot of folks walking into the dispensaries, this conversation that you're having, between a brand ambassador and a customer, a retailer and a customer, could be the difference between somebody saying, hey, I'm going to fall in love, I'm going to try, cannabis as a solution to what I'm looking for, or saying, hey, that experience sucked. All that person did was tell me what was on sale and didn't help educate me at all. I think if people understand the gravity of the conversation that are happening between our industry participants and our customers and our patients, they're going to take the education side a bit more seriously than they do today.
Yeah, I mean, they're both important, but I like the educating employees about the cannabis industry portion.
Yeah, definitely.
That's something I could probably help you with.
Hey, I'm always down for it.
I like a Destiny, we have a new t-shirt. We have Silence is a Decision. That was a nice t-shirt. And now we have Perfect Can Come Later.
There we go. That's this whole industry. Right? I mean, I think we're building something together.
I like T-shirts. T-shirts and brand.
Hey, we can co-brand a Meet a Seed Talent T-shirt. I'd be down to co-sponsor on that.
Yeah, but people might not get the joke. You want like, we got to figure this out. Okay. That should be like a Dimitri logo. Perfect Can Come Later.
Okay, fair. Yeah,
Because it's
hey,
funny, you know.
there we go.
And seed talent, perfect is now, probably, you know.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I would describe it as perfect, but the pursuit of perfect.
Yeah, I mean, we want to make sure people are in on the joke. If you're going to be knocking your company around, I can, as an individual, I can take that risk.
Fair enough.
Ha ha, we get it.
I can appreciate that, definitely.
So what's new with you? What's happening here at MJ Unpacked? What are you guys looking for? What are you guys finding?
Yeah, we've always been big fans of MJ Impact. So we were actually a part of MJ Impact's literal first ever conference that was a digital conference in the beginning of COVID. We've participated in every MJ Impact since. So we're really excited. I mean, the New Jersey market for us is one of our fastest and strongest growing markets. We work with about 80% of the stores out here as well.
80%.
Yeah, and there's not a huge dispensary account. They just crossed the 100 mark I believe this last week. But for us, we really love being early in markets. So the East Coast presents a lot of really great opportunities for us to build a different dynamic for customers to experience cannabis. Obviously you have a lot of familiarity with the Arizona market. I would argue that was not a market that always prioritized education, and that's where you see a lot of BOGOs, a lot of heavy discounting, a lot of those things. And so for us, if we can get out early in a market and really work with groups to understand around that good, better, best selling model, that's when we believe we can build a better industry for us all. And so we're really excited to be out at MJ Impact and have it be on the East Coast to be able to try to influence these markets a little bit earlier in the process.
Well, that's cool. I really, really, really like what you're doing.
Awesome.
What else do people need to know about your background? How did you get involved? And I mean, what's your connection to cannabis from the beginning?
Yeah. So I've been in consumer packaged goods roles my entire professional career, but I've been a home grower for about 10 years. Yeah, cannabis has arguably
unshackled.
Cannabis has arguably saved my life in many respects.
See how I tracked it out of him, Destiny? You see that? I got the little bit.
The cannabis side?
Yes. Which is good, though, because we root for the success of the people that transition over and love the plant.
Yeah.
That's a unique group of people.
One thing I will say is I love weed. I am a daily cannabis consumer, home grower, as I mentioned, and I like to think my home grow can hold up to the best of them. For me, I think where there's a really unique opportunity is, to your point, people who fall in love with the plant and understand what it does, not just for them as an individual, but for me, the communal nature of cannabis is what always drew me in. My best friends are folks that I grew up smoking weed with, because it creates a bond, and I even think the illegality of it early created that bond.
Definitely.
Where you're trusting people based off of that knowledge. But yeah, so I had an opportunity, like I said, about 8 years ago to take kind of my CPG background, and I don't like to always use this euphemism, but kind of came out of the closet a little bit as it relates to my cannabis usage.
Right.
Moved down to Chicago. Got a job with GTI, worked throughout that business before it was the big MSO it is today. I've got to watch a lot of what are now today the biggest multi-state operators grow from a single state operator in Illinois to what they are today. And so just my appreciation for being able to participate in this industry grows every day. When I can find people that don't just talk the talk on the conference floor, but then are outside and we can be, smoking down joints, ripping some dabs, doing that type of stuff, that's what really gets me excited to continue to engage the market.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Your heart's in the right place. And,
Yeah.
it sounds like you've got a great business structure, and you're going to be doing a lot of good things. How do people get in touch with you? What's the best way to reach out to you?
Yeah, so for personal, LinkedIn is a great spot. Please don't hesitate to shoot me a connection request if you saw it on here. Don't hesitate to put in the notes. Saw the Meta podcast. Otherwise, seedtalent.com. Seed Talent on Instagram, or our website is, as I mentioned, seedtalent.com. And as we were talking about earlier, if folks are like, hey, I'm not ready yet for a business relationship, but I would like to learn more about cannabis, they can sign up for free today on our website and get access to over 10 hours of cannabis foundational information. And we really encourage, regardless of your seasoned nature in cannabis, or if you're a newbie, education is really key.
You can throw all of our podcasts onto your website.
Yeah, we'd love that.
If you want, just put a link. We have 500. We've interviewed between 500 and 1,500 people. God knows.
Yeah.
1,000+ hours of content where people can learn about the cannabis industry, some of the people in them. Now, It doesn't have as much value as understanding the nuances that you're teaching about, but certainly there's some overview stuff, and feel free to share it with the world.
No,
any capacity.
I would love to do that.
Make some money off it. Somebody should.
Well, I think one of the things that's awesome, though, too, is by giving stories to the people involved, I think there's so many people that I started on what I would argue is a lower rung in the cannabis industry. When I first started with GTI, I was a sales rep. I had to take a pretty serious step back in my career to even get into this space. And I think there's so many passionate folks in cannabis that if they hear founder stories or if they hear stories of folks that have had success in different ways, that provides an avenue for them to re-engage and not sometimes get stuck in the muck that is people's frustration with some of the challenges. So I think the work that you guys do is so crucial for A, helping people tell these stories, but B, again, continuing to build that community that makes our industry, so strong.
Destiny, we got to have him back anytime we see him at a conference. You know why? Because he just came up with another fucking t-shirt. There's no such thing as a lower rung.
Hey, there we go.
All rungs matter equally.
There we go. Hey, you're a t-shirt man.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. I appreciate the time.
Another episode of Meet on Shaggle. Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.